Hey, Josh, come on in, buddy. We got the TV all warmed up, got the popcorn all set. Glad you could come over, pal. Like my Mighty Ducks jersey?
Yeah. They're not in the playoffs, but thanks for inviting me over. Good old Canadian tradition of sitting down and watching some good old-fashioned playoff hockey.
Well, I mean, we were gonna do that, but I mean, we got, things changed. Cards subject to change, that sort of thing. Wrestling reference secured.
Because the Ducks didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, but we got a DVD
with a duck.
No. That's
Josh,
not what we agreed to. No, I'm leaving.
No, let me give you a hint.
No hints. I don't want it. I will physically fight both of you. I don't even care anymore. I'm done with these crappy movies. I will fight the two of you. Fist fight, engaged, if you don't get out of my way and let me get to my car. Post haste.
Hey, Nathan.
Yeah. What's that, Brendan?
He doesn't know. He doesn't know.
No, he has no idea, man.
You want to tell him?
I sure do. You want to fight us? Well, it's a good thing we're both masters of quack foo.
Pick a movie. That's when I'm under pressure now. The question always comes back to me. What were they thinking now? Whoa, what were they thinking? What were they thinking?
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back once again to the podcast. This podcast is called What Were They Thinking? I am one of your co-hosts, Brendan, and boy howdy, we're going to finish off the tournament runner-ups. Well, howdy for short. Let's not get formal here. Okay. But we're going to finish up the tournament runner-ups. This is the last one that didn't quite make the finals, but because y'all voted and I decided we're gonna do all four of the semifinalists, and that's what we're doing.
So it was really kind of a pointless tournament, wasn't it?
God damn it! I'll just introduce you at this point.
You know who I am.
Millennial and their participation.
Oh, for fuck's
trophies.
sakes! It's a train wreck already. Joining
me
on
cold opens for a reason, for God's sake.
What are you talking about? I was filmed months ago. Joining me, of course, is the fine. You're gonna do that. I'm gonna do this then. Oh. Joining me is the Christie to my Howard the Duck.
Great. Now the Godfather thinks we're interspecies married.
And normally you'd think, well, that shouldn't be weird. Well, we'll talk about it. But joining me is the Christie to my Howard the Duck. Nathan, what's up?
Hey, everybody. I flew in from Duck World, and boy, are my arms tired.
Hey. Casa Bacaka.
That's a rooster.
I don't care. They're all birds. Is that racist?
Yeah, you think all birds look alike. I think it's speciest.
I mean, I think if you think all birds look alike, you're also just really stupid.
Unless you're like, oh, God, all birds look alike to me.
Oh, those kinds of birds, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But don't worry, folks. This is a very important film. This is the first feature-length Marvel film, and of course we could only have one guest for this kind of venture. Ladies and gentlemen, Galen Howard. No, ladies and gentlemen, joining us, comic book aficionado Joshua Kotsabasakis.
Thank you, and I would like to be referred to as the giant-sized man thing to your Howard the Duck.
Oh, okay. The giant-sized man thing.
Dark overlord of the universe.
Oh, so you want to be the... Oh, so wait, for the first time ever in history, somebody wants to be known as Jeffrey Jones.
I think he wants to be the alien, like the Harryhausen creature at the end, not the monster of the movie, but the Harryhausen creation at the end.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pass Josh a cover. I'm just gonna pass Josh a copy of the Any Entertainment magazine from around that time.
I want a quick wiki of Principal Rooney?
Control F, Jeffrey Jones arrest.
They searched his apartment 9 times.
9 times?
9 times.
9 times. Josh, welcome.
He's not a righteous dude.
Welcome once again to the podcast. Now, I know we've talked about a lot of comic book movies on this show, and there are some that you told me. Thanks for getting me to do this one with you because I've been actively avoiding watching it. Is this one of them?
Yeah, I have never seen Howard the Duck.
What?
But is this one that you were like,
today?
No, thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. I didn't know when the story would come up, but I knew that it would.
Mm-hmm.
I have been watching horror movies since I was 8 years old.
Okay, so you and Nathan very, very much alike.
Yep.
My father had the attitude of he'll let me watch whatever I want until he gives me a reason not to. He always tells the story of, I believe my son can tell the difference between movies and real life. So as long as he's a good kid and doesn't act out, then yes, I'll let him watch whatever he wants within reason. So I was watching horror movies at an early age.
And then you tried to fuck a duck, and that was the end of it.
And
no more movies for Josh.
Yes. Yeah, that's my story. The end. So I watched the Scream movies. I watched Jaws. I watched all of Friday the 13th, all before the age of 9. And one day evening, I'm sitting in the living room with my dad, and Howard the Duck is on TV. And my dad puts it on, and I'm just kind of watching it. And Dad says, "Hey, this is did you know that this is a Marvel comic movie?" And I said, "No, I didn't." Again, I'm 9 years old. I didn't know of Howard the Duck at the time. I go, "No, I didn't. Please turn it off, because Howard the Duck terrified me."
That is completely fair. Someone that has been through 8 Jason movies would then be like, "Oh, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Howard the Duck, no, thank you."
Well, this is where our paths diverge, Josh, because I was young enough to possibly see this in theaters. I didn't because my parents were not spending theater money on this. But I did see it, I want to say conservatively 15 times on video when it came out on video, in the ensuing couple of years, and loved this movie. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. Flash forward about 20 years or so, we get Netflix, Patty and I, and this was on Netflix at the time when we got it. This was, I think, the second or third movie we watched on Netflix because both of us had the member berries, and we were like, I love this movie. This movie was great. We should watch it. It's a big slice of both of our childhoods. We watched it, and we were like, good Lord, that was terrible. What the hell were we thinking as children?
Yeah. It's like the Chris Rock thing about movies that you like as kids and then watch them as adults. And you're like, man, Rocky 5 sucked.
Yes. I even kind of thought Rocky 5 sucked when I was a kid.
So did I. Actually,
there was no showdown in the ring at the end.
As I've said many
his
times,
ring's outside, so.
As I've said many times, my ring's in the streets. As I've said many times, as I've said, not compared to this, but as I've said many times, this movie to you guys is pretty much to Nathan anyway, is pretty much what Masters of the Universe was to me for so many years. I thought it was the greatest movie ever made, and then we covered it on the podcast, and I realized that I was dead wrong.
A movie like that it's not comic book related or fantasy related anyway, but a movie like that I remember this is peak comedy. This is the greatest comedic film ever made. I love this. I watched it over and over again. And then I watched it when I was probably 17, 18. And I was like, man, this is great. I can't wait to watch this again. And it sucked. Rat Race.
I feel like it ages poorly.
I remember watching it and be like, ha 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 ha. The kid has to poop in the back seat during a race. And it has Smash Mouth in it, and it's the whole thing.
Not only do they have Smash Mouth in it, but they have a scene at the end where the kid goes, "Look, it's Smash Mouth," as if Jesus Christ himself just came out onto the stage and graced everyone with his presence.
Yeah, and that was a period of time where everybody was using Smash Mouth in their movies. and everybody was using All Star by Smash Mouth in their
Oh,
movies.
can I just say real quick before we start talking about Howard the Duck? There's the Smash Mouth thing just reminded me of a story I heard about Shrek. Like, you know how that movie starts with All Star, and there's like an opening montage or whatever. So apparently originally they got a bunch of animators to work on this super complex like opening where you would like establish all the characters right away. There'd be like an original song, and it would be real. It took them like months, right? And then apparently they were like right at the finishing touches, and they went over to like John Lasseter or whoever it was, and he was like, "Oh, that's great, guys. This looks amazing, but we got Smash Mouth, so we're just gonna go with that."
Apparently, that working on Shrek was a punishment.
Oh, well.
The original Shrek was legitimately a punishment for the animators working at DreamWorks at the time. If you got on the shit list, you got put over to work. They called it getting Shrek'd. And because they thought the movie was going to be garbage and it wasn't going to be successful at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and animators still get treated like shit, so we haven't gotten anywhere, haven't gotten better. But never mind animators, although I'm sure there were a few on this one. Howard the Duck, 1986, the year of my birth. This came out. I'll run down the plot real quick here for you.
Plot!
This movie concerns a talking duck named Howard. He lives in some sort of alternate universe. You might say the first Marvel movie to talk about multiverses.
Multiverse, yep.
And so he lives in his own universe, which is apparently just filled with duck parodies of pop culture.
When we get to that.
And suddenly he is zapped through the wall out of his chair into Earth. And he meets up with Leah Thompson playing Christy, who's like a rocker. We have Tim Robbins playing some sort of scientist / janitor. We have Jeffrey Jones eventually showing up. Anyway, the whole point is he's on Earth. He's a fish out of water or a duck out of water, and he's just trying to find his way back home.
Ducks can be out of water. I mean.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. He's a duck.
They do perfectly fine out of water, actually.
He's not used to being out of water. So he likes water. Anyway, you know what I mean. He's trying to get back home and dealing with all this like other shit that's going on, and hilarity ensues.
I think so.
Her name's Beverly, by the way.
Oh, is it Beverly? Why did I think it was Christy?
That's twice that you referred to Christy.
Oh,
and
good.
I
don't know who Christy is, but she's not in this movie. So whoever she is to Howard, maybe she's just some girl who randomly passed him on the street. You're the girl in this situation.
It's Lucinda Dickey from last week's movie. I'm calling her Christy for some reason. So that's the rundown. And I think, gentlemen,
we're talking about the rundown. Sweet. We don't have to talk about Howard the Duck.
No.
So The Rock and Sean William Scott.
No, I'm very sorry. No, sorry.
That movie scared me from peeing in lakes for the rest of my life.
Because of the fish that swim for peepees?
Yep.
So Howard the Duck. So the first thing I want to say, just get this out right out of the gate. This is quite possibly the horniest Marvel movie I've ever seen. It's not even counting the part that we are definitely going to talk about for 200 hours. But this movie, like, everybody is just constantly trying to get laid, like, including
or doing some raping.
Friend. Or yeah, some assault and some raping. But like Howard the Duck is super horny and immediately wants to bang Leah Thompson, which I can't say I blame him. I mean, Leah Thompson is a beautiful woman, but this is definitely like intended for a younger audience. It is a very horny movie.
And man, the 80s, they were a wild time, dude.
I'm not saying they weren't. I'm just stating fact that this is a horny movie. Especially for a movie about a guy in a fucking duck costume.
Right? That was supposed to be voiced by Robin Williams.
Supposed to be voiced by Robin Williams and a few others too, that were going to do it originally. But Robin Williams apparently Robin Williams basically started doing it and was like, I can't fucking do this. I can't match the duck moving his bill. Like, this is crazy. But apparently John Cusack and Martin Short also almost did the voice for Howard as well.
Can I just point out, I despise the voice of Howard the Duck.
It's so bland, right?
Yeah. Hey, I'm how I can't even do it, but you know what I'm saying? Like he sounds like an accountant.
Well, it's just so
He
boring.
is supposed to be boring though. He sold out and got a corporate job. Gave up his rock and roll dream on Duck World.
But
Which,
I mean,
come on, really, that's a real lazy name for a planet too. Duck World? Come on. And it's shaped like an egg. And you're telling me in a universe, a multiverse of infinite possibilities.
Are we already at this part?
No, because okay. We've already discussed that this is a multiverse movie because he's from Duck World. Right. And they have paralleled our existence. Like, the only deviation is that they're ducks and not humans. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, they feel like puns. Okay, you know what? Puns are the height of comedy. So, no, it's a perfect movie.
Yeah.
You know what I want to know about Duck World?
Yeah, tell me.
How can I get there?
Free
all
parking?
The ducks are pretty awesome.
Are all the people, like, do they all have the last name Duck? Like, how is Howard and his family the his one family?
It's Howard T. Duck. That's on his ID.
So how do they all get the name Duck? But then they don't. There might be like a George Smith or something.
No, because there's a poster for My Little Chickadee, starring it was Mae Nest instead of Mae West.
Like W.C. Fowles.
And W.C. Fowles instead of W.C. Fields.
But Nathan, we know Hollywood. Those are just stage names.
They're stage names, right?
Their real last names are Duck.
The Duck, yeah.
So are they? So Duck World. We don't know because we spend like 3 minutes on Duck World.
Yeah, I wish this movie.
Duck World.
Me too.
Yeah, this movie should have taken place in Duck World. Put Leah Thompson in Duck World.
Yeah, and then
you got something.
And they could see it. She could see all the duck tits.
Okay, well, if Nathan's going to mention it, we're just going to talk about it right now.
Okay, are we going to talk about Play Duck with the duck tits, or the duck woman with the duck tits in the bathtub clearly masturbating?
Let's go to Play Duck. Although Play Bill would have been a much better name.
Right?
Let's go to Play Duck.
Well, Play Duck, he's looking at a Playboy magazine, and it's a duck, and you see her duck boobs. Very briefly.
It's very brief, and I was like, whoa, I can't believe they showed duck boobs there. Boy, was I in for a surprise.
When Howard is on his chair and suddenly gets launched through all these different apartments, there's like a couple in bed, and you're like, whoa, that's pretty risque. And then the next one he goes through is a topless duck woman in a bathtub, human tits. And after he goes through, I only noticed it on this watch, though, that after he passes through, her arm reaches down and her eyes start to close. And I was like, whoa, whoa, she was going to town.
She was rubbing one out. Yeah. Also, if we're going to talk about
Josh looks like he's going to die.
I did not see that.
Okay, well, you got to watch it again now. I'll buy you the Blu-ray. It'll be here by Sunday.
And by human tits, Brendan means human tits that are covered in feathers.
Duck tits.
Well, but clearly exactly. Have human nipples.
Tits covered in feathers. Human tits.
Ducks are not mammalian.
Right.
So she wouldn't have
nipples.
Breasts. She wouldn't have nipples.
Well, no, of course not. That's why it's the weirdest fucking thing ever. Like, why are you putting human? Why is there a scene of a duck in a bathtub? We don't need this. This is the horniest movie ever made.
Also, if we're all going to talk about things that are wildly inappropriate to be in a movie that was obviously aimed towards maybe not kids, but at least a youthful direction, maybe like,
13-ish.
13, 14-ish, yeah. Howard was also a weed farmer at some point. There's a picture of him giving the peace sign with the rose-colored glasses, surrounded by a field of marijuana.
Oh, I did not catch that.
Yep.
Yeah. He had a postcard at the beginning of the movie when he's in his apartment, written by a girl.
She was having a miserable vacation because he wasn't there.
I thought that was his wife, and then he immediately gets a phone message from a completely different lady duck. He's like, come over. And
Howard's a real player. Yeah, exactly. In Duck World, Howard slays. Howard slays duck pussy.
I'm gonna tell you this, man. Considering what happens to him in the first couple of days, him being on planet Earth, he slays on planet Earth as well.
Hey, Josh, I got some photographic proof for you in the Skype chat there.
Christ. Just for everyone,
man.
I don't know if Brendan's gonna leave this in, but just for anyone who's listening and he does leave it in, he just sent Josh a picture of a duck masturbating with her duck tits out. That's this is the reason why I tell people at my church when they ask about my podcast, I say, yes, I have a podcast. Please don't ever listen to it.
I mean, we're talking about Howard the Duck, and we're not gonna talk about duck masturbation.
I mean, we already did. You did.
Yeah.
You just said, Josh, something to stick in the spank bank.
He told me he missed it. He told me he missed it. It's something you can quack off to later.
And
Yes. See, punning is the height of comedy.
what I thought was hilarious about it was this was all in like the first 8 minutes of the movie.
Right? Yeah. This tells you, man, you're watching this movie, strap in because shit is going to get wild.
It's almost so early. The tits are almost so early in the movie that we almost have opening duck credits. Like it's very close.
Thank you. Perfect. Oh, so good. Oh, yes. Come over to the dark side.
Oh man. But anyway, Duck World and duck tits aside, most of the movie takes place in the real world. Boring.
Yeah, on our boring ass planet.
I thought Howard, the first time I heard him talk, I thought like, man, this should almost be Dennis Miller. just like, hey, how'd I end up here, eh, babe?
And Chachi.
Lots of walking meatsicles all over the place here, babe.
I mean, I could really see it. I mean, Ginger,
honestly,
you're gonna give me the girl's contract, cha.
You imagine Dennis Miller? He would have been in like his first season on Saturday Night Live, and they're like, "You want to be Howard the Duck?"
Why wouldn't I, babe? It's a Marvel movie. It's my big break. George Lucas is doing this thing.
I mean, proven that he genuinely did Bordello of Blood for the money, so there's no way he would turn this down.
Right.
Yeah.
We really have kind of glossed over that. This is a George Lucas movie.
George Lucas produced movie. Now let's not give him the director
apparently
credit.
Contributed to the punning because there's a Breeders of the Lost Stork poster on Duck World. There's a kid later on who's wearing an Empire Strikes Back t-shirt. Like, do you think
Steven
there was some
Spielberg
producer service on this thing?
Do you think Steven Spielberg saw that Breeders of the Lost Stork moment and just cried?
George,
don't mention me.
George.
Yeah, but so the most of the movie takes place in the real world or Earth, I guess. And my first big issue with the movie of many is that
Howard isn't exploded as he sucked through the void of space.
I mean, it's science be damned. I don't give a fuck about that in this movie. But I will say that what bothered me all the time was that sometimes Howard just walks around and people are just like, it's a guy in a duck costume. Ha ha ha. And then sometimes people are like, oh, it's a fucking mutant. And they're terrified of him.
I said that too, that when he crash lands on Earth and those punks are after him in the alleyway, I was like, they are not at all reacting the way that someone would react to a duck man.
It's right. And then some react like they're like, oh, it's like if everybody had just had the same reaction, like, oh, it's a guy in a costume, or if everybody was freaked out, that's fine. But the way they just go back and forth, it's like, okay, whatever fits this scene, let's just go with that.
It's one of those things that I almost feel like they set this in Cleveland. So
Cleveland.
Cleveland, Ohio. Shout out to Brent and PJ and Spirit.
Shout out.
But it almost seems like this is a movie in the 80s about a weirdo duck who's supposed to maybe sort of not fit in at first, but then everybody just kind of like, yeah, it's a duck. Set it in New York or LA, because you get that low-hanging fruit joke of, yeah, you're a guy looking like a duck. You're not the weirdest thing happening in this city.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's Cleveland, Ohio. I mean, I feel like it's a big enough city that they could have made that joke.
Right, but they can't decide what joke they want to make.
Because yeah, like you said, people are either freaking out, but later on when he goes to the employment office lady, she just thinks he's a little person dressed up as a duck.
Yeah, and she to the point
trying to collect EI.
Yeah, she's like, I know you're in here thinking that I can't find you a job, but I've dealt with your kind before. And I'm like, what? You have?
He's one of my favorite characters in the entire movie.
The-
I'm not
the-
gonna lie.
The
And he
lady at the
tried to-
employment office?
Yeah, this was a heavy set lady, folks.
Yeah.
And what? I don't want to call her older, but
Middle-aged.
middle-aged, heavy set lady working in an unemployment office. And just abruptly, she turns around and bends over, and Howard tries to eat her ass.
He does.
You know what?
Thought about that.
I'm not gonna kink shame a duck. I'm
No,
not.
but it just goes to prove again that this movie is super horny.
I think he was trying to bite her, as opposed to performing analingus.
You don't think it was a Marv Albert situation here?
No,
Really,
it 100% reeked of sexual tension to me.
Yes.
well, he's dressed up in kids' clothes that he shoplifted from Goodwill.
Because he was like, he wasn't like when she turned around and bent over, she's like, I got something for you. And then she turned around and bent over, and he wasn't like, ha 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 ha, like he's gonna be all mischievous. He went, as the camera zoomed in on her ass.
But he was also super growly to her, so I think it was like I'm gonna show her, and I'm gonna take a bite out of this cheek. I feel like I know that the horny duck and Leah Thompson scene you really want to talk for 2 hours about, but I really think that we've struck upon some gold here, talking about the unemployment lady and how much Howard wants to, munch her backside.
Oh yeah, like you said, he wants a piece of it.
You know what? Good for him for no like it. I'm not shaming him.
No, we shouldn't shame him, but we should add it. She definitely didn't consent to it.
No, there's no. But I mean, it was the 80s. I mean, it's not. That doesn't make it okay. But that's
Right.
the way a lot of people behaved.
Right.
Horny ducks just ate people's asses out.
Put that on a T-shirt.
That's a T-shirt I don't think you could wear too many places.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, you could probably wear it to like convocation.
Yeah,
or,
church in the morning.
Church, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe your kid's confirmation.
I would just a shirt of the picture that I just sent Josh.
Well, that's not gonna see. That doesn't fit the saying.
No, I just want a shirt.
A shirt with that on it. No
I'm gonna get
slogan, no saying. Just
Nope.
a picture of a duck masturbating with her duck boobs out.
You know what? I'm getting it made. Fuck it. So the other crux of this whole thing is that Howard, there's lots of references to him being like a faded or a failed musician.
Oh yes,
And-
because he bonds with Beverly over the whole thing because she is a
Right.
musician.
She is a musician.
Playing in I don't know what is up with the audience at this club that she performs at, because it's supposed to be toughs and hard rockers, and then at one point she's playing this super slow melody song and nobody's getting upset. At one point there are children in the audience. I saw that and had to rewind it back because I said to Pat, it's like, if there were kids in the audience, what are they doing there? And they go back and yep, there's kids there. That's when Howard was beating up their manager.
Right.
But yeah, he commiserates with her
Quack
because right, exactly. He was in Howard and the Heartbreakers, but he gave it all up to become a jingle writer for an advertising company.
Yeah, and there's a moment.
Little judgy Miss Beverly's like, oh, it sounds like you sold out, Howard.
Well, I mean, but it is funny because
talk to me in a few months, Beverly. It's the 80s and you're a dime a dozen.
Jesus, Nathan's full of fire today. But there's a moment later where, okay, you think this is all going to tie together somehow, and it kind of does, but it doesn't really matter to the plot at all. Leah Thompson, Beverly later says, this is the moment where you think oh, you were a musician. Oh, you should be. And then she says, my manager. And I'm like, what? You'd think that she'd be like, you should be in the band, or you should.
Right, because that would be an attraction.
Right, not
Stick
the manager.
that at Lollapalooza and everybody's showing up.
Not the manager who's just off stage that no one can see. What's the point of that?
And what kind of meetings is he going to get?
Any meeting he wants,
Right?
preferably ones where everyone's got a nice plump juicy ass. But But yeah, so that was weird to me. But okay, we got to talk about their relationship because
The first night he stays at her place, she like goes through his wallet and he's got a condom in it. And my note on that situation, my note on that is that condom should be corkscrew shaped.
Yeah, 100%, because duck dick is not like human dick, unless that part of him is also human.
Well, I mean, because we do talk about the evolution, because later when we meet Tim Robbins' character, he talks about how, ducks on Howard's planet, on Duck World, the egg-shaped world, ducks evolved to be the dominant species. So they all became anthropomorphic, standing upright, walking, having arms, no more wings or anything like that. So maybe, just maybe, they developed regular shaped, or cylindrical phallic shaped penises.
I just like how...
I don't want to say regular, because I don't want to be like, only human penises are the penises that... Because, ducks. Well, then we get all the... Ducks Unlimited starts writing us, and they're like, you know what? That's really specious for you to think that just because you have a cylindrical penis doesn't mean that that penis is the only penis on the world. You should be respecting, not only the corkscrew penis of the duck, but the red rocket of the dog, monkey, and cat.
And
they're barbed too. A cat's penis is barbed.
And Toucan Sam is a strong ally of them too, and he's pretty powerful in their world. So you gotta be careful.
Do you think that Howard would call it a bird?
Another great question.
Maybe he calls it a man. You want to see my man?
Chimp. You want to see my chimp? There you go.
My chimp.
Come play with my little boy.
Oh boy.
But it would.
And then Jeffrey Jones is like, all right.
Yeah. This actually makes for an interesting parallel to Duck World and our world. He could still say spank the monkey.
Mm-hmm. He can. I still would. Why not?
Here's a question.
Yeah.
Actually, it's already been brought up.
Does it have anything to do with dicks?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect.
I really want to know why that condom was loose. Like why?
Yeah.
Like were they gonna think that we didn't know what it was if she pulled out like a wrapper that said, I don't know.
You could have done a wrapper that said condom. Like, those movies where they can't show brands and the can just says beer? Like, they could have just done that.
Yeah. But, I think there was a point in time where, and not to, be too gross, but, I believe that there was a point in time where you could buy condoms that you would reuse.
What?
And the look on your face is appropriate. There's a reason why that if you buy condoms now, they say for single use only. Wow. I am not even kidding.
Well, it's not even. Yeah. But also, like when it was loose in his wallet, it also looked really wet. Like he just took it out of the package.
There's a reason why they're called sheepskins, right?
God.
Oh. There were not exactly. I say that the environment should take a hit on that one. Not necessarily. You don't need to, reuse. Maybe recycle. Is there a way you could recycle condoms? We could reduce, recycle, and reuse, but don't reuse because they're condoms.
Listen, I'm all for stopping, putting a halt on global warming as much as the next guy. But I think it's okay to just buy a new condom when you're done with the first one.
Or you know what? Maybe just. Be monogamous so you don't have a filthy dick.
That's true too. Yeah. So anyway, she pulls out a condom in his wallet. Yeah. So, but then later on, of course, as their relationship grows stronger, you're like, well, surely it's just going to be like a flirty. It's still weird, but surely it's just going to be like a flirty thing
because
and whatever.
He's a duck.
Yeah. And she's a human, and we'll move on from that, and it's going to be fine. No, there is a scene where I'm pretty sure I wrote down this is the reason I wrote down in my notes, because I don't know any other reason why I would write, thank God for Jeffrey Jones, because she's about to go to town on him, I think. She says, oh, just one kiss, Howard. She kisses him, and then she leans in, and then she leans in again, and then Jeffrey Jones and Tim Robbins and another guy enter the room.
The old, his feathers on his head perk up to show that he's legitimately aroused.
So his feathers on his head is the duck's way of having a boner?
It's the way that they could do it in this movie so they don't have to show a giant corkscrew shooting out of his crotch.
I would have loved if they just had it like it was literally just a corkscrew.
And he opened like a bottle of wine with it.
What did you expect? I'm a duck.
And I guess, I mean, I know we're, with this new format, we're jumping around anything.
Yeah.
Can we please talk about Tim Robbins' greatest role?
Absolutely.
Like, it's the role that I feel that on the day that he unfortunately shovels off this mortal coil, that they are going to feature prominently in his Oscars in memoriam section.
Yeah. Shawshank who?
Yeah, right? Arlington what? No. Howard the Duck.
Josh has some strong thoughts about this performance, I believe.
He annoyed the shit out of me in this movie.
He's a lab assistant, and Beverly thinks he's a scientist, and everybody who works at the museum that he is at thinks he's a janitor.
Yeah. And when she said, I'll go to my friend Phil's lab, he's a scientist. The first thing I thought was like, how many movies are there where there's just generic scientists that someone happens to know? I don't know any scientists.
Well, it's kind of interesting because this is the second movie in a row which features very important scientists for us. Yeah. I mean, that was a thing in the 80s, I guess. You just knew scientists.
Yeah, you got your VISs, exactly. But yeah, so we're talking about...
not a scientist.
Yeah.
No, lab assistant.
Which we find out later. I thought, so it's been a long time since I'd seen this movie. I thought he was going to end up being the villain, and I was actually quite surprised that he wasn't.
Well, it's funny you say that because when I was a kid, I thought the same thing was going to happen because when he plucks that tail feather from Howard, and he's like, give me your tail feather, and he plucks it. He's like, I'm gonna go. I've got your feather, and he runs off into the night. And I'm like, wow, that guy is his character. This is me again as an 8-year-old. His character really took a shift. I thought he was going to be the good guy.
And
wow, Tim Robbins.
Nathan's impression is pretty much spot on how Tim Robbins acted and what he said. He was that excited.
Tim Robbins looked at a book called Actors' Choices, and he highlighted all of them. Because
I'm telling you, it's his greatest role. Hudsucker, what? I don't care.
Yeah. Bob Roberts, who?
Right, exactly.
We talked about it earlier, but the evolutionary chart. How does he have that?
No. That point he says imagine.
Oh, I missed that.
That's
okay.
Yeah, because they show the evolutionary chart that's there at the museum that he works at, and then he says, "Close your eyes, imagine." Now Howard's planet, and then ducks evolved and became the dominant species.
I also thought that was a real chart that was on the wall. No, the duck chart was on the.
I'm glad I could solve that mystery for both of you guys.
Hey, also, if ducks are going to be the dominant species, how come they didn't grow beyond 3 feet?
Also, why didn't they evolve from something else? If man evolved from apes, what did ducks evolve from? Come on.
Well, they would. That's the thing. They just grew up to be, larger ducks with arms.
Who can't swim, apparently.
Right.
As demanded several times.
And hate rain.
Yeah.
I can't swim.
As ducks do. Well,
Phil, I can't swim.
Well,
are we going to talk about him working at a strip club, or not even a strip club, a bathhouse?
No, it's a fucking rub and tug.
That's a sex club. That's a sex club.
That's where the sex stew is made, just like in Ninja 3: The Domination.
That was the grossest club ever. So Howard is like,
sweetheart, I've been to some clubs. I never mind. You know what? Let's just spin on.
I'm not talking about IRL. I just mean like in movies. That's one of the grossest clubs. But like Howard, basically Howard and Beverly have like a tiff, and it's when Tim Robbins shows up and he's doing too much, and Howard feels like he's being prodded at, and he's like, you know what, I'm going off on my own, and he's like, I gotta find a job, and he ends up working.
He goes to see the lady, and she gets him this job, the one he tries to eat her bum.
Right, and that's what it was. She says, well, he tried to eat my bum. He'll probably love working at this sex club.
Mm-hmm. She did say to him,
what was it called? It was like called Hot Tub
Time Machine.
No, it wasn't.
No,
Time Machine.
Lava tub, I think.
It was gross.
I thought it was like Hot Tub Mania or something like that. It was really lazy.
Yeah, he's the towel boy. Can you imagine a worse job? Just any towel.
She felt like he was gonna take to it like a duck to water. Those are her exact words. The last time we see her in the movie, criminally underutilized character.
It would have been crazy if she became the main character after that scene.
All the weird stuff that happens at the end of this movie, it actually kind of goes against a lot of what the idea of the comic of Howard the Duck, the original one anyways, was, because it was supposed to be he's just a duck trapped on Earth and, trying to deal with shit. And if he had just kept going back to her and getting more jobs and then finally reuniting with Leah Thompson and Holly Robinson Pete, just in case anybody was wondering, she's in this movie as one of the band members.
Oh.
Reuniting with them and becoming their manager in a simple, story, just a real straightforward duck fucking story, where he becomes their manager after all the struggles he goes through trying to get a job in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been fine. But the wheels fall off as soon as Jeffrey Jones shows up, which is something that happens all the time.
Certainly fell off a kid's bike in front of his house.
Oh my Jesus.
Yeah, I had a note about that too, that they did not need to bring in a villain for when I say villain, I mean like super villain, the way they did, which by the way did not show up until I think it was an hour and 8 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, conservatively almost 2/3 into the movie. They pulled a real Fantastic Four 2015 here.
Mm-hmm.
But so essentially,
and that's what I thought the movie was. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But I was just gonna say that's what I thought the movie was before I watched it. Was kind of like what Nathan said. This is going to be a movie about Howard living in the real world, trying to make it. And then when she referenced her manager being an asshole, I was like, okay, so we're going to get Howard is going to work with her to try and overthrow this piece of shit manager. And he was going to be like the villain, but not like a super villain. You know what I'm saying?
A simple story. Maybe the movie is a little out there in left field, but at least it's something that is not, it's not what happens.
No.
At the end of this movie, like I could have done. I feel this movie would not be as maligned for being as insane as it is if the second half of the second and the third act happened.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be. I'll put it this way: I think if the movie had continued course as it was going for the first 45 minutes, it would have been a much more entertaining bad movie to me. Because I think the entertainment level goes way down when it just turns into like a gloop glop special effects super villain movie.
I had that note too, that I was entertained by it for about the first hour.
Mm-hmm. Like as you would any other
entertained by it in the same way that I was like entertained by Captain America 1990, right?
Or like Supergirl.
Where it's like, this is so cheesy and bad that I can't help but watch.
Right.
After that first hour, it was like when a stand-up comedian is on and they're on for like, at this point, a half hour longer than they should be.
The movie is going on its merry way, being creepy and weird and over the top. And then we get the introduction of Jeffrey Jones's character, and he says, they're going to help Howard find his way home. And this starts the incident where, oh no, we tried to do it, but then the whole machine went haywire, and we've accidentally brought a Dark Overlord down from another multiverse. Whoops! And then the Dark Overlord, and then the Dark Overlord like inhabits Jeffrey Jones's body. I will say this: I think the makeup on him is pretty good. Like I think as he devolves more and more into like less of a human being.
I thought the special effects and stop motion in general was pretty good in this.
I was just gonna say,
not
it's
bad.
1986. The special effects used for the Dark Overlord, pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. I mean,
it was like way better than Spawn, which was 9 years later.
Exactly, which was like 9 years.
Almost a decade later.
But Josh, don't you remember that Spawn is the special effects
movie of the decade or something?
Yeah, the special effects masterpiece of 1997
event of the year, I believe, was how it was billed. Yeah,
that's what it was. Yeah, and it certainly was. The effects are good. Like honestly, like even and then. As much as I was like, okay, this stuff doesn't interest me as much, when they got to the stop motion creature at the end, I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, oh, okay, that's fun. But then when they showed all the other Dark Overlords trying to come down, they all looked the same. I was like, oh, come on, you could have had some more fun with that. Could have been a little more creative with the design on those ones. But The design and the look of the film is not really the issue, honestly.
Even
No.
Howard looked good. Like,
Well, because it was all like for the most part, it was all practical. Like
It
it
was
was
all
puppetry.
practical
It was
effects,
it
yeah.
was puppetry or a guy or a little person in the suit.
yeah, it looked good.
You
But I just mean like the suit and the puppet in general looked good. Like it wasn't cheesy, or I mean it was cheesy, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, but no, it didn't look cheap. It didn't look like Ninja Turtles 3 levels of cheap.
Right.
And you know last week, Brendan, where you said that Ninja 3 was aggressively 80s. Like
Yes.
even though it was in the 80s, it was aggressively 80s.
Yeah.
The scene when they go with Jennings, aka Jeffrey Jones, to the diner is probably one of the most aggressively 80s cliched scenes in the entire movie, because it's a Cajun sushi place where the waitress is not put out by the appearance of Howard whatsoever.
And
there's
she's got like the white headband.
She's got the headband, like the Karate Kid headband.
Yeah. And they're serving breakfast and beer.
Yes.
What I love is that the waitress thought he was a kid. And she's like, "Oh, I love your Halloween costume, little boy." And she's like,
Bring
"Well,
us
what
3
can I get you?"
beers.
And they're like, "Bring 3 beers." And she's like, "Okay."
It just,
You know what happens at the truck stop stays at the truck stop Cajun sushi place.
it was just like they took like a bunch of things in a hat and threw it around and rolled it, because it's like
Exactly.
sushi, breakfast, beer.
Don't forget Cajun, because
Cajun,
for
yeah.
like a hot minute in the 80s, Cajun was everywhere. I think what happened was some famous chef somewheres burnt the shit out of something, and rather than admitting that he'd burnt something, said, no, it's Cajun, because for like Cajun food was just blackened everything. It's like, that's not Cajun food. Even as a kid who was 8 at the time, I was like, I don't think that's a thing. There were even Cajun chips, and I was like, these chips taste like shit. Why? Because they taste like burnt food, and that's not Cajun food.
It's also weird that you have Cajun sushi. You don't burn sushi. You
don't cook sushi at all.
Cook sushi, yeah.
They focused in on the sign, like of the diner, and I thought it was going to be a plot point, because they spent like, it was a good 2 or 3 seconds that they zoomed in on the name of the diner.
Joey Roma's Cajun Sushi.
And I googled,
and then they held it there, and I was like,
oh,
they must want us to know about this name, because that's going to come up a few minutes later when the bad guy or whoever, the government who's hunting down Howard.
Aptly played by the lieutenant from CSI. He's
but
a
anyway,
cop in CSI, and he's a cop in Howard the Duck.
But
although
the name
he has more hair in Howard the Duck.
The name that they zoomed in on and focused so much attention on never comes up again. It doesn't matter.
No, and so much so, it was so egregious, Josh, that I actually Googled it, because I was like, maybe this is a real place and they paid for advertisement. Nope. Doesn't exist.
Get his Tony Roma's ribs.
Yeah. But it's like product placement in a Michael Bay movie. It's like to that level.
It is egregious. It's just also zoomed right in. Like, I have the image burned in my mind now. I can picture it exactly in my head the way it was in the movie.
Given the even though all the people who were just kind of like nonplussed react to Howard throughout this movie, I still feel that the waitress in this scene should be up for the nonplussed reaction award at the Manos. I'm just putting that out there. Yet you could talk to the Academy about it, but I'm gonna say that she gets my vote in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't react a lot to Jeffrey Jones suddenly having like fright hair and
exactly. It's
using
not just
lasers.
Howard. She thinks he's an evangelist when there's this huge, like, he's like, he's got, I'm gonna destroy the universe, and she's like, no, we have fights in here all the time.
Yeah. The other thing too about the diners, we talked about how they serve breakfast. We talked about how they serve Cajun sushi. They serve beer.
They have ducks.
There's a fight that breaks out that I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute. And Howard is spinning on, I think, a ceiling fan. And as he's spinning, there is just a lineup of duck corpses.
Yes.
So they
him.
serve duck as well.
They try to cook him.
They do.
They attack him and and they're literally seasoning him as he's still breathing.
Throwing lettuce on him, which is not something you do when you cook something.
Just toss lettuce as you do at a Cajun sushi restaurant. There's the sign I just put up there in the chat. Very prominent.
Not
very
as disturbing
prominent
as the
feature.
last image you put in the chat.
No, I would say more disturbing. Cajun sushi.
Yeah, that's true. I'd rather see duck. Wait, now that I'm looking at it, you could tell that they replaced something with the sushi sign.
Oh yeah, they
There's
put
something
like
underneath
a board
it.
because that was the thing. Like the idea of the way things went in the 80s is that things changed so fast they didn't have time to get a new sign. They just put up like a board or something over it because now it's a sushi place.
Well, then Howard the Duck.
We got to adapt with the finicky tastes of the public.
Howard the Duck, you get points on this one. Good on you. Really speaking to the
There's
to the
some
times.
real social commentary about 80s culture in this movie.
Yeah.
How long was he on planet Earth at this point?
I don't know how long this movie takes
I
place over.
I think we're up to it would probably be about 2 weeks, I think, at this point.
So
Because he does work at the Rub and Tug and then
That's
has
right.
to go back to Beverly.
Right. So he's there for a little while.
Yeah.
And it's not until at this point in the restaurant that he realizes that human beings eat birds.
Yeah, right?
'Cause-
Because she brings him eggs.
She brings him back. That's cannibalism.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild too. Like there's so many references. Well, no, because he even sees the TV. When he sees the TVs and they're talking about hunting ducks.
It's duck
Oh, yeah.
season, yeah.
And that was before he went to the restaurant. So clearly
That's
he
right.
knows.
Yeah, have you ever seen more anti-duck propaganda in one situation? in
No.
your life?
No, you know
Then
what?
what-
If I did, I would be standing against it because I will say this: I am not shy about eating various animals. I am not a vegan or vegetarian. However, if somebody offered me duck, I would say no, thank you. I do not eat holy animals because ducks are the greatest creature on the planet.
Big twist. This is Nathan's favorite movie.
I don't know how to respond to that, so I'm just going to continue talking about this.
Your response should be yes. They are the greatest creatures on the planet. The perfect animal. They are sweet, resourceful, kind. They are great animals. You know what? They are an example
They have
for us
tits?
humans because they don't
Oh.
because they are non-mammalian.
Oh, okay.
However, they should serve as an example to humans because they are constantly dealing with stress. However, they are calm on the surface, but paddling like a son of a bitch underneath.
You know what I just realized? We talked about how Howard and apparently ducks in this movie, the evolved ducks don't like water. She was taking a bath.
Mhm.
Howard can't swim. No, Howard can't swim.
I thought it was just all these.
No, just Howard can't swim.
I can't
Okay.
swim, Phil. But the anti-duck propaganda, so to explain that you know how back in every movie ever, you walk by a TV store or an electronics store and they have about 1,000 TVs and the window turned on to something different.
Yep.
Well, that's what this was.
Yeah.
And Howard
Also,
walks by and there's like
Duckaroni, not a
five,
thing. I've
There's like-
looked for it.
there's like 5 TVs on that are all anti-duck. I have
Different
never
programs.
I have never seen that ever in my life where so
No.
many things are talking about ducks, let alone anti-duck. And Howard
Yes.
just stumbles upon a store that's showing Daffy Duck getting his ass kicked.
It's
As
as
a
if
Duck
he
hunting
walked.
season, Duckaroni.
Yeah. It's as if he walked by an electronics store in the late 60s and they were all talking about Charles Manson. Like that. That I would believe, but that's how much coverage there is on this thing. It's crazy.
It was it was like Daffy Duck getting his ass kicked. It was the news report on duck season where the governor or the mayor has approved you can
They
now
doubled
kill
the bag limit.
double
on
the
ducks.
bag limit of ducks. And then there was another program that was like a cooking show, and it's like them cooking ducks. It's just
There was an ad for Duckaroni.
Yep. Just a casual thing you'd see walking by an electronics store in 1986.
Man, like I would take notice of it as a human being. Like if I walk by that store, I'd be like, man, there's a lot of duck shit on this show.
They
or on
hate
this TV.
this store hates ducks. I'm never shopping there.
I also love when he sees it and understandably freaks out that all of this is happening on multiple TVs and runs away. That guy, one of the guys, is like, "Whoa, where's he going off in a hurry?" Just like,
Again, someone else who doesn't react at all to Howard the Duck.
What's the problem, buddy?
yeah. Where you going, my little feathery friend?
I think now that since we're talking, we're hitting that third act. And
great.
Howard and Phil, because
Tim
Robbins, they commandeer like a plane, like a bicycle plane glider thing, and that's not my biggest issue about this whole scene. Is remember we talked earlier about how Duck World basically paralleled human existence, except they were ducks, right?
Yeah.
Apparently that also happened in regards to the bombing of Pearl Harbor, because at one point during this scene, when Howard is taking his revenge on duck hunters, he shouts, "Tora, Tora, Tora."
Oh my God.
I was like, what? So there was a bombing of Pearl Harbor in Duck World. Japanese ducks. That tells, you know what that also means? That there's a duck version of Michael Bay who made a shitty 3-hour-long movie that starred Ben Affleck.
Mike Quack Bay.
He's a quack, all right.
Hey, hot takes here on the podcast. Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't even realize that. My problem with that whole thing, at that whole escape scene, because they're trying to get to Beverly, because Beverly's been kidnapped by the Dark Overlord, and he's going to bring all these overlords down to Earth to fuck up the whole universe. And so Tim Robbins and Howard the Duck are trying to make their way over to the lab. This scene of them like in the glider,
they take a brief diversion to a nuclear power plant.
Yeah, but this scene is conservatively 47 minutes long. It is.
I was gonna say it goes on forever.
Oh,
it felt like the pod race from episode 1 on steroids. It went on so long.
Yeah, but with even
Blame
less
George
purpose.
Lucas.
There you go.
Like the pod race scene. It's like George. He has no editor, and that's
when I did Howard, I actually wanted it to go on for 35 more minutes. So that's what I'm going for here with this pod race. George, it doesn't really serve like a huge purpose to the plot. You sure you don't want to just cut it off at some point? No. I think we should see little Annie for a little while longer.
It's a duck that doesn't have wings, but it's flying for the first time. It's funny.
George, how are they this far apart in age and then closer? You know what? Never mind, George. I don't care.
Well, in duck years.
It's like, we're not making Howard the Duck, George. So yeah, this whole thing, and then they finally get to the big confrontation at the end, and we have the Dark Overlord. It's really boring. Like I said, this stuff it's not bad movie good. Like it's just bland. Like Howard gets this big laser, and they're like, just shoot it at him.
Cliched is what it is.
It is super cliched. It goes from like, this is a weird, wild, wacky, insane bad movie to like, okay, I've seen this before.
Yeah, you're painted by numbers here, George. Knock it off.
Howard just uses like a giant laser to like blast the Dark Overlord into like a million pieces or whatever, and then of course the drama is like all these other Dark Overlords are coming down. Howard, you got to destroy the machine, but if you do, you'll never be able to go back to your home planet. We know he's gonna stay on Earth, so he blows it up, and no Overlords come down, and everybody's
Jeffrey
happy.
Jones is fine.
Yeah, he's fine. He's just recovered after he's been evaporated by a laser. He's just back to his old self.
He actually looked worse at the end of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He was leaving the bus.
I was gonna say that when he was taken over by the demon, his truest, most evil form was at the very end when he went transformed back into Jeffrey Jones.
Jeffrey Jones.
And one of his powers too during this scene is just like wind power. Like he just kind of blows like a bit of a gust at Howard. I'm like,
no, he
really?
blows all right.
You have fucking lasers, dude. Like, use your lasers. Does he even kill anyone? He electrocutes people, but I don't think he actually kills anyone.
As he was turning and he was warning them, like, hey, I think something's going on here. I'm turning into like a monster or whatever. And he's driving erratically. Why didn't Leah Thompson just say, "All right, pull over, I'll drive"?
Right. I wrote down the same thing. Why is he driving the car?
Maybe she doesn't have a license.
And we're talking about
I'd still take that over a guy who seemingly might be possessed. I'd take the ticket. Let's just take a risk.
And we're talking about a world where we now discover that there's another duck planet or another planet that's full of ducks, and they can travel to other worlds, and yet they completely blow off the idea that Jeffrey Jones is like, "Hey guys, I think something's happening to me. I think I'm turning into a monster." And like, would you shut up? We've had it up to here with your games. Like,
you're fine. Knock it off.
They keep quipping at him like, "Oh, he doesn't look so good."
And then his voice changes into a demon where he's all, "I am the ruler of the world," or whatever. And it cuts to them, and both of them like roll their eyes and like rub their head like this again. Like,
this guy.
It's crazy. Yeah, you're right. It's crazy because they've seen the craziest shit, and they're just like, "Oh, whatever."
The best part about it is, not only that, they are in the presence of a duck alien. And the duck alien himself is rolling his eyes at the possibility.
At possession.
Listen, I might be from a planet of all duck people, and we have duck parodies of everything you have on Earth, and ducks have titties, and I traveled here somehow, but possessed by an alien? Whatever.
Do you think when he went to like a video store in the real world, or our world, and he saw Raiders of the Lost Ark on VHS, do you think he was just like, I wonder if that's anything like Breeders of the Lost Stork?
I think what he did is he went in and he was like, "Oh, I hate parody films." This must be a Ducker Abrahams production.
I think he sees it and he goes, "Man, what is up? You people you guys don't make wordplay on anything. What are you even doing with your lives?"
And then he met Gene Shalit, and it was the greatest love story ever told. But yeah, essentially this is Howard the Duck. So
he blows up the laser. He can't go back.
He can't go back. So he becomes the band's manager, as we said. But then he gets to play on stage briefly at the very end, and
playing his guitar.
Gave me serious Johnny B. Good vibes.
Oh, like Back to the Future.
Oh, yeah, Michael J. Fox. Yeah. They're just playing Howard the Duck.
Ain't no one gonna steal it.
I wrote my note for this whole scene was like, nobody in the crowd knows that this song is based on true events.
Yeah, the fact that she's even singing about how he saved the planet.
They're like, wow, this is a crazy song.
Man, look at that guy in the duck costume. That's amazing.
I didn't notice. Was this in the same club?
No, this is a much bigger stage.
I think I think they've hit it big at this point.
I was gonna say I couldn't remember. I was gonna say he's not that great of a manager.
Again, if you just tell a straightforward duck fucking story, where he becomes their manager and gets them to this point, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
We don't need the excellent special effects that they use in the Dark Overlord section of this movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because other than those excellent special effects, all that shit seems lazy and tacked on. No disrespect to Jeffrey Jones or George Lucas in regards to that. But you know what? I would have much rather seen Howard figuring out the entertainment industry.
Did you guys well, I know Brendan probably wouldn't, but did you read the Howard the Duck comic that came out around 2014-ish?
I read Deadpool the Duck.
Okay. Yeah, this was before that. It's actually hilarious. He opens up a private investigation firm.
I did know about this, yeah.
Oh man, it cracked me up. Like it was the first
quacked you up?
Yeah.
Not enough duck puns in this episode.
But like Aunt May was like his secretary. It was a whole thing.
It was a whole thing. Did they fall in love?
No.
Did he try to eat her ass?
She wasn't played by Leah Thompson.
Leah Thompson makes a cameo.
Oh, that's
in one
amazing.
of the issues. He goes to L.A. and reconnects with Leah Thompson, his friend from the film Howard the Duck.
That's fantastic.
Okay, so in the comic book, it's positing the idea that Howard the Duck came to Earth and played a fictitious version of him in a movie called Howard the Duck with Leah Thompson.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Howard the Duck, the movie, is canon in Marvel.
I also want to tell you guys something I read about a little more I read about this movie. So Tim Robbins was talking about the movie, like looking back, and he said, listen, I got this big job. It was paying a really decent salary, and it was for George Lucas, and it wound up going over its shooting schedule and ended up getting paid twice for that movie because of all the overtime. So he's like, you know what? It basically said Tim Robbins admitted that he thinks more about the money he made than the quality of the film.
Greatest performance he's ever made.
And apparently this did not happen, but following the brief appearance by Howard in the Guardians movie, Leah Thompson actually pitched an idea to Marvel for another Howard the Duck movie, but with like this version, obviously. And apparently, like they were into it, but it's not going to happen.
Would watch.
She was going to direct it too, but it's not going to happen. But she did say, like, she's not broken up about it or anything, but she did say that people should stay tuned because there definitely is something coming for Howard the Duck. So
I hope it's Howard the Duck meets Spider-Ham.
Also, this movie was supposed to be animated at first, and the producers were really upset that they couldn't do it animated. They wanted to originally.
It probably would have been received better.
Probably would have been a lot better.
Would have saved them a lot of money too.
Yeah, that too. Well, there you go. That's Howard the Duck. Leah Thompson, radiant as ever. Howard the Duck, just fucking his way to the top. We're gonna go around the horn as we always do, around the bill. Josh, since you're a guest, we'll start with you. Was this movie worth a watch? Was it a drunk watch with friends? Would you attempt head trauma to forget it or avoid it like the plague?
Oh, I was thinking about this earlier because the first hour is fun to make fun of.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say it's a drunk watch with friends because you hear so much about this movie from like comic book fans, like, oh, Marvel wasn't always good. Ever see Howard the Duck? That it's almost like a rite of passage, I think, as a fan of superhero movies, that you have to see Howard the Duck.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What about you, Nathan?
1987 me says worth a watch. 2023 me says drunk watch with friends.
Okay. Because of that split in the middle of this movie where it just goes downhill, I'm gonna go between two categories as well, because it's not a full-fledged drunk watch with friends. If it had kept up that pace and that level of movie for the last bit of it, I would say totally drunk watch with friends, but it's somewhere between that and attempting head trauma to forget it. Maybe I would just attempt head trauma to forget the second half, but I wouldn't need to because it's forgettable. So,
and this movie this is what caused Steve Gerber's exit from Marvel, which is like this is the movie that made Steve Gerber, an acclaimed writer, say, no more. I'm done with you, Marvel.
Yeah, this movie was a huge flop. It made back its $38 million budget, but that's combined with all the international money that it made. So it really flopped pretty bad.
Well, it's when he left, it was due to he felt that he owned the character, not Marvel, because he created it. So it's one of the first very publicized disputes and legal issues between a creator and a publishing, like a comic publishing company. One of the main one before this would have been, Superman.
All caused by this stupid movie.
Now Howard the Duck was like the next big one, and it was like a huge thing with Steve Gerber.
Well, let's get this movie out. I want to see it. Seth Green, come on, let's do it. But right now we're going to take a brief break. We are going to be right back after some ads. So listen.
What were they thinking?
And we're back.
They're quack again.
We are quack.
Howard's quack.
Now,
friend
Nathan, it's at this point of the show where we do something special. It's called the Low Haiku. Would you mind explaining to the folks exactly what that means?
Well, on the off chance that this is your first episode, congratulations, good pick.
You did
But
it.
the low haiku is 17 perfect syllables, where we poetically break down the movie that we've just been talking about for, an hour and some change.
Yeah. So, of course, starting us off, our guest, Joshua, would you like to kick things off with your low haiku?
Oh, it'd be my pleasure.
Oh.
Howard the Duck film. Only film to make me want actor Seth Green.
Ooh.
Okay, very good. Kind of harsh towards Seth Green, but that's what it is.
Nathan, do you have an equally harsh take on Seth Green?
No, I don't. But I do have a low haiku.
Okay.
And it is as such. Duck of the 80s. Not the duck that we needed. The duck we deserved. Thank you. It was a commentary on the life of excess of people in the 80s.
Reagan era.
Right, exactly. Brendan,
Yes.
would you like to send us on home from NPR land with your low haiku?
I would, yes. Denounced by Lucas. Just ashamed of his secret. Loving duck titties.
Okay. Interesting take.
Yeah, I think it's accurate. I think that's what happened. But anyway,
My neck, ow, my back.
Your crack.
Oh, my quack.
You quack. Oh, duck. Nathan, guys, we
Yeah?
talked about this movie. We gave our opinions, of which they were somewhat varied. But what do we always say on this show?
Well, we always say,
Don't take a word for it.
That's right. That's what we say. We say, don't take our word for it. Nathan, we know this movie was a bomb critically and commercially. So what did the critics think about this one?
just gonna tear the Band-Aid right off. 14% of critics thought it was all right.
Ooh,
Out of 81 reviews. So
Now, audiences, I feel like, also didn't really care for it,
they
but
certainly did not. Out of 50,000 plus ratings, 38% on the old Rotten Tomatoes.
that is still quite a few people that were like, yeah, Howard the Duck.
But I'll say this: if you did like this movie,
Sure.
you may like The Curse of Sleeping Beauty, which I've never heard of.
All right.
The Nutcracker and the Four Realms.
Saw that in theaters. Super boring.
You saw that in theaters? I didn't even know that thing existed.
It was free. I worked there at the time.
Okay. A movie called
That
Captive
doesn't make
State.
it right.
It
Right.
does, Josh. It was just a stealer of my time.
Captive State.
Sure.
The animated version of Batman: The Killing Joke.
Oh yeah, it looks like people love it.
And finally, Geostorm.
Yeah. Check out that
Slapped us on a
episode.
double bill, Howard the Duck and Geostorm.
The Rotten Tomatoes algorithm still makes no sense to me sometimes.
Oh, the Netflix one's bad too.
Yeah.
Like I still remember. I tell this to everybody. Oh, if you enjoyed Seven, you may enjoy Shrek.
I would think it's like, if you enjoyed Zodiac, you may enjoy Murder Mystery starring Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston. But let's get into these critics' reviews here. There's quite a few of them. I'm going to start off with Michael Burkett of the Orange County Register. A Register. I'm assuming that's the same place that Jeffrey Jones is at. Michael Burkett says, "Sound the horns, light the speakers, and cue the marching band, because Howard the Duck is here, and bad movie historians could not ask for a more maladroit venture than this." Negative review.
Tried to go all Gene Shalit at the end there, eh?
He did. It's a twist.
Well, I'm going to start strong with the late, great Ken Hankey from Mountain Express out of Asheville, North Carolina.
He loved it.
He real short on Ken's part, at least in regards to the quip they used in Rotten Tomatoes. He writes, possibly even worse than its reputation.
Ooh.
0 out of 5. Ken,
Wow.
come on, buddy.
Ken.
Don't be a cranky hanky.
Slinging arrows.
Right?
Right.
Mine's from Joe Layden of Moving Picture Show.
Okay.
It's a positive review.
Oh.
It's hold on. It's a wacky comedy adventure.
Wow. Congratulations, Joe. You made it. Oh boy.
Shit.
This is an odd one, a positive one, another, but just a little bit strange. Bill Chambers of Film Freak Central says, "For me, the real hell of Howard the Duck is that I actually feel represented by it." 2.5 out of 4. Don't know what that means. Don't want to know.
Want to have sex with a duck?
I don't know, but I don't intend to do any further research on that one.
Okay. All right. Well, my next one comes from Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune. And old Gene wrote, who was this stupid film made for? 1 out of 4. So he was more generous than Ken Hankey was.
There's no review from Roger Ebert, which is so strange.
That is weird. I'm surprised that this wasn't featured on At the Movies.
Roger was like, Gene, you take this one. Fuck, I'm not doing it. Yeah.
Am I up?
Yeah.
You are.
This is Matt Brunson from Film Frenzy.
That's like you just sent yourself a sexy text. Am I up?
Matt,
Looks
well, it coincides with this.
Yeah.
Matt Brunson from Film Frenzy. The overall movie is often fascinating in its blissful perversity.
What is it? Is that positive?
No, 1.5 out of 4.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. My last one here is from Kathleen Carroll of the New York Daily News, and she simply says, "Is audience abuse a federal crime? If not, why not?" 0 out of 4.
Okay. Well, I'm bucking the trend, and I'm going to end on a positive note for my reviews. My last one comes from Michael H. Price of Fort Worth Star Telegram.
I thought you were going to say Price Waterhouse.
Nope. /DFW.com. And Michael writes, a flawed triumph of the interpretive as opposed to the creative. Filmmaking art. Howard the Duck comes tantalizingly close to capturing the acerbic brilliance of its character's early comic book adventures of a decade ago. 7 out of 10.
Are you sure that doesn't say Armand White? Yikes.
Send us on
Acerbic
home there.
brilliance.
Well, for the critics anyways, Josh.
We've got Paul McKee from the Winnipeg Free Press.
Paul?
I'm from Winnipeg, you idiot.
Wait, Pa or Paul?
What did I say?
I don't know. I'm asking.
Paul.
Okay, I thought it was Paul McKee, and I was like, "Oh, Paul McKee's review."
Oh, Paul McKee.
Yeah, Paul.
Talking to Boss Hogg and Cooter.
Paul McKee from the I'm from Winnipeg, you idiot, Free Press.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "Hey, what can I say? I hate this film."
That sounds so playful.
Right?
All right. Well, that's enough of that. Let's get into the audience reviews. So my first one is from Jackie S. So Jackie Stallone. She simply says, "I'm scared by how much I enjoyed this." 3.5 stars.
How much did you enjoy? You gave 3.5 stars. This is barely above average.
That's a lot to enjoy Howard the Duck, though, I think.
Well, you know what? According to James G., and I can only assume that's James Gunn, and because he wrote probably one of the best comedy sci-fi movies from the 80s. Howard the Duck will have you laughing and at the same time rooting for the little guy to kick some alien butt. If you are too young to remember this movie and have never seen it, I recommend watching it with the kids. Break out the popcorn and cotton candy and be ready for a wild yet trippy roller coaster ride of What Did I Just Watch? 5 out of stars.
Oh my god! And be ready to explain duck tits. What are those, Dad? Let's watch the next scene.
It's weird, son. Ducks don't have breasts. They're not mammalian.
Oh.
I've got Mariah B. So not Mariah.
Mariah and Brendan. Okay.
This is hell. This is quite literally the most atrocious thing I have ever had to witness with my own 2 eyes. The pacing is insane. The plot line is loose at best. There's a reckless disregard for any semblance of cognizant character motivation and development. The most heinous sin this movie commits is the ongoing sexual tension between the protagonist and an anthropomorphic 3-foot-tall duck with the most horrifyingly human blue eyes and skeezy personality. I prayed to God that there would be nothing more than flirtation, but this movie proves that God allows bad things to happen to good people, and I was not so lucky. Please do not watch this. My therapist will be hearing about this. 5 stars. No, I'm kidding. Half a star.
That would have been a great twist. All right. This one is from Paul L. So Paul Levesque. Leah Thompson is as hot as a pistol, but the duck suit never works. The eyes, bill, and feet were just wrong. Hopefully a remake will fix this. I saw it for free in HD. 2.5 stars. I don't know why you decided to put the thing at the end. What a flex, eh?
Well, my next one comes from Jamie P, and I can only assume that's Jamie Presley.
Mm-hmm.
And she writes, one of the most underrated movies of all time. Directed by George Lucas and starring Leah Thompson from Back to the Future, this movie is classic 80s. A very early film from an interesting Marvel character who is the master of Quack Fu. 5 out of stars.
Wow. Jamie Presley, big fan. Okay. My name is Howard.
This is from Carter S.
I got nothing.
I don't.
Marty McFly's mom cheats on her husband with a duck while Principal Rooney goes through all the flu symptoms in 30 minutes. half a star.
All right, my last audience review comes from Anonymous, so Neil Breen. Finally making an appearance. Says, just let it wash over you. The first Marvel movie. Infinity War is gonna Back to the Future into this movie. 5 stars.
Drink it in, man.
It turns out Howard turns out to be an asshole.
All right. Well, my last one comes from Cameron M, and I can only assume that's Cameron Mitchell from Space Mutiny.
Okay.
And he writes, Howard the Duck is a weird movie. It's quite enjoyable until around the middle of the movie. The humor was stale, but made me chuckle. The villain was horrible, and the ending was weird, but it was okay. 2.5 out of stars.
I just thought of like the Back to the Future tie-in where Doc Brown shows up and Howard's like, what do our kids turn out to be assholes or something? And he's like, no, you fucking idiot. You're a duck and a human being.
You can't procreate. You need to mate with something that ovulates with actual eggs.
Or he says, no, your kids are horribly mutated. You need to not have them.
You're the reason DuckTales was invented.
Oh, well then they should have kids then, because that's a great entity. I'm not ridding the world of DuckTales.
And Darkwing Duck, because that's a shared universe.
Not ridding the world of that either. Where's that movie?
All right. Send us home, Joshua.
Yeah.
This one is from Keiko C.
I got nothing on that one.
Keiko Charleston. Yeah. Classic stage actor.
This was the worst Marvel movie of all time. So glad that Howard is in the MCU. 2 out of 5. So
all
even
right.
the worst Marvel movie of all time gets 2 out of 5 from Keiko.
Just real quick, Neil Breen actually did say duck tits, enough said, 5 out of stars.
Perfect. Well, there you go, folks. Those are the reviews. That's what people are saying. That's what the critics are saying. And now we're gonna move on away from that. We're getting away from Howard the Duck. We're gonna talk about movies maybe that are like genuinely good movies. Maybe not. I don't know. But it's the dance craze sensation that's sweeping the nation. It's time for the What You Watching, Bud.
What you watching, bud? I don't know what you watching, bud. I tell you so. Do.
So, Josh, as our guest, I'll start with you and ask you, besides Howard the Duck, what you watching, bud?
I saw Evil Dead Rise this past week.
Nice.
Pretty great.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. My wife, who I've been watching horror movies with now for 14 years, this is the first one that I can recall. She legitimately was asking me if we could leave.
Wow.
It's gory as hell.
She was terrified. Like, I've never seen her like that in a movie before. Like, there's been times where she's covered her eyes and stuff, but it's been fine. She said to me, she goes, I may have watched like 15 minutes of that movie.
So I'll watch it before I watch it with Cheyenne. Okay.
Josh, I think I was just saying that to someone the other day. I saw it recently too. I think it's one of the goriest movies I've seen in a long time.
I'm trying to think. I mean, obviously I watch a lot of older movies too. So
sure.
As far as modern movie goes, I'd say so. Scream 6 was surprisingly pretty violent.
That's true, but I think this one was more like goopy, gory, you know?
Yeah, this one was way more gory, but it's I mean, the Evil Dead flicks, they tend to be comedic in a lot of ways, but I found this one wasn't really at all.
There was
return to form like the first one then.
Yeah, there were some moments. There were some moments.
Like there's one part where I don't know if this shouldn't be a spoiler. It's just the line from the movie, but
yeah.
There's one part where Jamie, my wife, is hiding her face, and as soon as I looked over at her, there was a line that made her laugh. So she's hiding, and like a turtle, her head is in the hood, and you see her shoulders bobbing up and down, and it's you're a whole bunch of titty sucking parasites.
Yeah,
and that made
to the kids, yeah.
And she like was busting a gut over that, but also terrified because the mom and the voice of the mom scared her so much.
Oh, it's really great. Also, if you want to watch a gatekeeping fan get shut down by Bruce Campbell himself, there's great footage of like there's an Evil Dead Rise premiere or something, and the like parts of the cast and like Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell are all on the stage.
Oh yeah, they told the guy to get it. Like the guy just lost his shit.
Yeah, the guy just yelled, "This movie fucking sucks," and he like threw his popcorn up in the air. And as he's walking away, he's still yelling at them. And Bruce Campbell's like, "Hey, buddy, get the fuck out of here." And like, I loved it because you know that cut him so deep that Bruce Campbell told him to fuck off.
Yeah,
he flipped the double bird. I mean, you can only do that at things like Phantom Menace.
Well, don't do it when the fucking cast is there, fucking idiot.
No, you can do it at Phantom Menace.
I think he was. I think they said that he was like really shit faced and fucked up anyway. But anyway, Evil Dead Rise, cool. Yeah, agreed. Nathan, what about you? What you watching, bud?
Well, nothing as harrowing as that. I did recently find out that on Tubi, because I love Tubi, they have Toxic Crusaders. That's right, the Saturday morning cartoon based on a trauma movie. And it's on Tubi. Toxie of the Toxic Avenger fame, has a group of, I guess, mutant superheroes who fight crime. And he's even got a girlfriend who loves him very much and plays the accordion. It's as crazy as it sounds. The Toxic Crusaders, they were toxic wasted. It's on Tubi.
So, hey kids, remember that Toxic Avenger movie you liked so much? Here's a cartoon.
It's weird because I actually knew who the Toxic Crusader was when that cartoon hit, probably 10 years after the movie came out.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I watched a movie recently that I've kind of had on the back burner for a while, been wanting to see for a while, but I finally sat down and watched the Snowpiercer.
Nice.
Yeah, the Bong Joon-ho movie with Chris Evans and Tilda Swinton and Ed Harris and all those people. Incredible movie, a really good movie. It's basically about the world is in like an ice age when they basically tried to
perpetual nuclear winter, I believe, is what they're stuck in.
Yeah, well, they tried some last ditch effort to save the planet from climate change, and they actually made it worse. And so everybody is kind of on this train that's just traveling around the entire world. And of course, it's separated into classes. So like the lower class people are at the back of the train getting treated like shit, and even like getting killed occasionally to thin out the herds, I guess. And the rich people are up front eating sushi and all this stuff. And I mean, it's really obvious what they're saying with it, but it's really well done. The production design is amazing. The performances are great, and it's just really, really good. I'm sure a lot of people have seen it, but I finally watched it, and it was fantastic. Snowpiercer. So there we go. That's it. That's
Chris
all.
Evans was in it. Would you say it's Fantastic Four?
No, I wouldn't.
He was the Human Torch.
I wouldn't say that. I would say it's on fire, though.
Okay. It's lit.
I would say it's lit. Yeah, Snowpiercer's lit.
Would you say it's Winter Soldier? Is it snow?
I mean, sure. Yeah, Bucky
All right.
shows up outside the train at some point, and he's trying to get in. That's like the second half of the movie.
He ironically got killed off of a train until he wasn't.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Right.
he's still around. Yeah, the lead guy from Parasite is also in it. He's a great actor. So yeah, that's it. Those are the things we're watching. Nathan, what's wrong, Josh?
I just, like you said, the lead actor for Parasite, he's great, but like not great enough that you know his name.
His name is Song Kang-ho.
Well, there we go.
Look at trying to call you out. Look at that.
Yeah, I know, right? Got you, motherfucker.
You bring him on your show, and he tries to gotcha.
Yeah, I know. But those are the things we're watching. Nathan, is Montrose around to say a few words? I'm sure he's a big Howard the Duck fan.
I'm anthropomorphic talking animal. So just 1 second, I will do a. Oh, come on, hey, come here. All right. What? Again? Yeah, you ask us to do this like every week, and you get put out because we're giving you free advertising. Oh, fine. Hello, it's your good friend Montrose Monkington III here. Come to my YouTube channel, Montrose Monkington TV. I talk about wrestling, and you can be friends with me on Facebook, and Montrose Monkington III Esquire and friends, and tweet at me or whatever at Montrose III. That's the number 3 D. You know what? I do not want to be on this episode. I feel that this goes against all of the things that I stand for as an anthropomorphic talking animal, and I feel that it cheapens my existence. Thank you. More later. Yeah.
Thank you, Montrose. I will take those comments
Go to
to our
hell!
I will take those comments to our HR department, and they will follow up with you. I promise.
Go to hell. I'm British. Leave me alone.
Okay. Well, Josh, I want to thank you once again for joining us to talk about another fantastic film. Do you have anything?
Fantastic film.
Do you have anything you want to plug or talk about or shill or anything like that?
I mentioned it before on here. My friend Travis Boyce is a stand-up comic here in the St. John area. He will be opening for Kenny versus Spenny at Imperial Theater, so check that out.
Cool.
When does this air, actually? Or to upload?
Brendan
Air.
versus calendars.
I think May. Brendan versus Calendars. This is a really shitty Asylum movie.
Oh no, I
May.
derive a-
Okay, never
I
mind.
derive a lot of
Well,
amusement out of it.
Read about it.
Well, hold on, Josh. I'll tell you in a second here. Read about it. This is airing May 18th.
Okay. Well, read about it. 'Cause I didn't realize how late into April we were, and it's in 3 days. But hey, check them out
Yeah.
anyway. Look him up. Travis Boyce. He's a good guy. He's fun.
You're plugging the fact that he opened for Kenny versus Spenny, and the people who are just learning about this now didn't get to enjoy it.
Yeah, but they can look him up on Facebook and YouTube and things.
So basically, Josh is plugging ha 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 suckers.
Yeah, that's right.
Suckers.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you, Josh, once again for being here.
All right. Well, thank you for having me, I guess. Making me watch Howard the Duck.
Oh, you're
finally.
welcome for Howard the Duck.
Yeah, you're welcome. We didn't make you watch something a lot worse. But anyway, you can find our podcast all over the place. Our home base is Age of Radio.
Big time.
You can go to ageofradio.org/whatweretheythinking. You can also find us on any other podcast app. Just search for us there. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter and Instagram at WWTT Podcast. We're on Redbubble, TeePublic, and Patreon.com/WWTT Podcast. We've got a Listener's Choice Month coming up real soon. That's going to be interesting. We'll see what we got. By the time this airs, maybe we know what we have, but we don't know because we record in advance. Little peek behind the curtain there. But yeah, that's it. So I guess at this point, Nathan, you definitely seen this movie more than I have, but
Yep.
I mean, I still want to see if you have any questions. I might need to answer them.
Okay, so in a movie
Yes.
that is obviously prequel to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness,
Mhm.
where an entire planet of ducks exist, mirroring our existence right down to the Pearl Harbor bombing.
Yep.
Except everything in their media is duck puns based on the things that were non-punny in our media, again, existing parallel to their universe that they would have no idea about.
Right.
And in a movie where ducks, that they're waterfowl, they're birds, they lay eggs, they are not mammals, and therefore would not have the ability to lactate or have mammary glands.
Right.
Yet in this movie, there are duck titties
Big
with-
juicy ones.
with duck nipples.
Yep.
I gotta ask,
Yeah.
what were they thinking?